While World of Warcraft Shadowlands is sure to be a financial success and hopefully an improvement over Battle for Azeroth, some of you are wondering if it's going to let us down like past expansions. Well, it probably is, but it doesn't have to. With the game design team at Blizzard stuck in their old ways of repeating past mistakes and doubling down on them without understanding the issues at hand, it's hard to imagine a possible future where fans aren't left disappointed. I'm sure the constant knob polishing from popular WoW content creators is not helping this cause either. If you can't tell by now, this video isn't going to be all sunshine and roses, as much as I'm sure we'd all want it to be. I'm not going to blow smoke up anyone's butt, and I'm not going to try and appease any fanboys who continue to defend almost anything regardless of the negative impact it'll have on the game and their own experience. I think we can all agree that there's enough of that content out there already. While there are many problems with the current iteration of Shadowlands, and I'm sure not all of the following will apply to everyone across the board, here's my take on 3 major reasons why Shadowlands is in trouble. Games have evolved over the years, so why do we assume that players have only adapted and not evolved too? For players, gaming has become serious business, and in the eyes of many, games have moved away from being passed off as an activity to keep children busy. The budgets for developing games are larger than blockbuster movies, and people will gladly pay for coaching so that they can improve their performance, even at an amateur level. Gaming tournaments can rack up more prize money than sports tournaments, competitors become celebrities, and even playing a game online for others to watch can become a full-time career. I've been playing games for a very long time, both competitively and casually. A meta had always existed, but it used to be limited to small communities or niche forums. It was server to server, city to city. Now it's all at your fingertips through the internet. But you don't even have to look anymore. You don't even have to want to learn the meta, because you'll be told about it constantly. And if you aren't told, you'll still be expected to know. The meta isn't something you have to want to find. It's an expectation at all levels of play. If you take a look at Pokemon over the years, which was once a fun game that mainly involved a team full of legendaries which you'd use to try and impress your friends with, it's now evolved to have rules and movesets and special status clauses and strategies. In a similar vein, I don't remember a time since launch when Hearthstone wasn't consumed by nothing but net decks and deck tracking overlays. The information is just there. You can't escape being a metagamer. If you aren't a metagamer, you're just a loser. If even the average, most casual gamer is going to gravitate towards playing in a way that gets them to win more often, the goal of playing in a game, the alternative of not playing the meta just means that you're more likely to lose. And who plays a game to lose? It's like trying to find a Mythic Plus push group as a Frost Mage or Shadow Priest. Almost nobody is going to want to risk keys so that you can play what you find fun. This means that people who don't even understand the meta will be drawn to it as long as they believe that understanding it will unlock the I win button. It doesn't, but it does remove the automatic I lose because nobody wants to play with me button. And that's because while playing the meta doesn't mean that you know how to play the meta, not playing the meta means you're not even trying to win. The meta has become such a prevalent force in gaming that it dictates the rules of the game, even at the detriment of all creativity or fun. If someone is playing against the meta by trying something new, they are punished. And off-meta anger isn't really a rare occurrence, is it? How often are players, including pro-level players, furious by a character selection, strategic play, or item choice?
Why would I go bottom when I can't do anything? Mid, I can get spell thief procs, I can deny CS. I become useful. When I become useful, we win more games. It's that simple. Silver's fine in a 1v2.
Nubrak, say bye-bye to your account. Hee hee.
Vanilla WoW had often been considered as a difficult game at the time, but Classic WoW has only proved otherwise. Player equipment, connection, skill, and access to information has improved tenfold than what was available at the time. It can be made laughably easy for anyone who wants it to be so, but even then, you'll be rejected, kicked, have loot denied, and whatever else. And that's if you're just missing even one aspect of the current meta, regardless of the fact that the content can be completed by significantly lower requirements. While it might sound like these last points promote the idea of a way to break up metagaming by offering lock choices, or temporarily lock choices, you cannot prevent the player mindset, which is driven to optimize all aspects of the game. You're only going to create a more toxic environment if you try. This is because meta will always emerge, and anyone who chooses not to follow will be left behind and punished by the rules that try to prevent this from happening. And they'll probably unsub as well, so if Blizzard is only interested in the money aspect, then they should remove these components from the game for these reasons alone. Blizzard absolutely loves the phrase meaningful choice, which is ironically a phrase that is thrown around without any meaning behind it. If I looked in the Blizzard dictionary, I'm sure that I'll find meaningful choice will be defined as a forced decision with negative consequences that the player won't be aware of or will be able to consider for an extended period of time. When they finally realize their consequences, it'll be too late, but congratulations on your crap choice. While they may have pulled back on this a little, kinda sorta in a way, they don't understand that players don't actually want meaningful choices. For real, when players say that they want meaningful choice, in this context at least, what they actually want is the best choice. They want whatever their choice is to be the best. We've already covered how even the average player will gravitate towards the most optimized path, whether that be items, talents, or even the specialization itself. The reason for this is that Blizzard has intentionally designed group content to punish failure, such as wasting vessels of horrific visions or depleting a key, which will either force players to grind more WoW bucks or run another dungeon for the same chance at completing the initial task, hopefully without failing it again and repeating the process though. So it's no surprise that players will want to find the best plays they can when they need to find them. This is why tools like Method Dungeon tools and Raider.io have become a staple in the WoW player's handbook. And it's also why some players will almost never find a group if they aren't playing the meta. While Blizzard may state that there is no wrong choice and sometimes your choice will be better and sometimes someone else's will, well, it feels a whole lot worse to lose than it feels to win. This is because you're only able to select one covenant per week, and each covenant and the abilities they bring will be beneficial for different content, such as dungeon shortcuts. Blizzard has effectively put players in a position where they are losing 3 times for each win that they may gain. This is not going to feel good in the long run. As much as Blizzard wants us to believe that the solution is to trick players into taking on dead weight, because everyone is forced to make a decision between covenants and soulbinds and conduits and legendaries, but the truth is, this won't happen. Because it has never happened, and it will never happen. Players are compelled to make the best choice possible. This means that everyone will be forced into taking something they didn't even want, just because they have to. So where is the meaning or choice in this? Now, this doesn't mean that meaningful choice shouldn't exist, but it feels like we're heading in the wrong direction. In my opinion, the right way to deliver meaningful choice is to have all the tools at your disposal, but having the option to be able to choose when to use them. Again, this doesn't mean selecting an ability and locking off all others for a raid encounter or arena match, and then swapping over for the next one. Instead, you have the tools and you make the decision. That's it. For combat, a good example of this would be the Old Enhancement Shaman's Maelstrom weapon resource, which, for those unfamiliar, you had a choice. During combat, and depending on the situation, you could use it as a big heal, an actual big heal, a ranged damage spell, or crowd control in the form of Hex. You're not forced into losing your entire source of damage or ruining the flow of your rotation. That choice doesn't detriment your overall build. Instead, it enables it. Meaningful choice does belong in WoW, but it belongs in the content that you want to do, and the flexibility presented in those situations, not in the ones you are forced to have to take. I think it's safe to say that the relationship between class balance and Blizzard is, well, it's not good, let's just say that. Now, to be fair, balancing 36 specializations and 23 races, if we remember how much people hated racial and faction imbalance, it's no easy task. And I'm not being patronizing either, it really is a tall order. So why did Blizzard think that adding 4 covenants with unique abilities and 3 soulbinds each, which are a whole mess of stat and ability interactions which lack balance in and of themselves, as well as 12 class abilities shared between them, was a good idea? Forget about conduits for those soulbinds and legendary effects. It's a computational nightmare. You would think that Blizzard would learn from Azerite powers and the mess they brought into battle for Azeroth. Having to make a game-changing decision 3 to 4 times each time you got a piece of gear was tiring enough as it was. And that's because you had no idea what impact they would have. If Blizzard's intent is to move away from simming every 2 seconds, well, the solutions are only making it worse. I don't want to have to pull out a calculator to work out what the difference between the value of 29 strength for every 10 rage spent versus 636 damage and 10 rage on Colossus Smash, when the game doesn't even tell me what the value of strength has on my damage, and it also doesn't tell me that 10 bonus rage doesn't stack. Considering these options are only useful for damage, it's useless to compare them with anything else. So now, we have to go online in order to find out what we should do with this gear, and if it's even worth using over your old gear. And this leads back to the meta, which was what you were trying to avoid in the first place. But it's not just competitive balance which is an issue. How do you balance your own play experience with your friends and guildies? When you're either forced into taking the same covenant so that you can use the same tools and enjoy the same features. This means that some will be forced into taking suboptimal or otherwise unwanted covenants, or take different covenants and miss out on using them entirely. And that means that it was a waste of time to take them in the first place. You won't be able to balance a class's rotational flow either, because you can't design around having an ability that you may or may not take. And this is why almost every class feels clunky or janky. It's like playing Guitar Hero where every note is offbeat. And why did Blizzard think it was a good idea to strip things out that were unique to classes and start handing them out to everyone, like they did with the old Demonology Warlock? Let's take Soulshape for example, which it's really just better Ghost Wolf, maybe Cat form. Wouldn't it have just been way cooler if they had just given these classes unique quests which unlock these enhanced abilities? Now it's just handed off to everyone, and when the value of one ability is higher for some classes than it is for others, how do you even begin to balance that? I'm sure it sounds fun having all the toys you could ever imagine available to you, but it's like playing GTA with all the cheats on, or a private server. It gets boring real quick. In a recent interview with Preach, Ian Hazzikostas, the game director of World of Warcraft, had sarcastically asked if it would be ideal for all variables to be the same and only the mechanical skill of the player be the determining factor for performance.
Do you feel like it's an ideal endpoint for every hunter who is doing a mythic raid encounter across the world, really, to basically be the same in terms of their stats, their abilities, and the only difference among them is who can push their buttons more effectively, who can execute the mechanical aspects of their class?
I don't see why that would not be the case.
I find it incredibly worrisome that Ian did not stop mid-sentence and realize that this is what almost every player in any game would want. But perhaps this is the reason why WoW is filled with bots. The game playing itself was the end game all along.